Hearing more from you.
On through the India Sanitation Coalition is the whole microfinance and credit financing for the sanitation sector. So again, we work very closely with microfinance institutions to make sure they make finance available for sanitation. So we would like your support to continue some of this work, which we do in and around your state, but to really get your support at these times where microfinance is suffering quite enormously across the country. So these two asks of you. Thank you.
Nainaji, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure seeing you and listening to you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for saying, for bringing up a topic which typically doesn't get discussed as much. And thank you very much for also alluding to T-Hub, V-Hub and S-Hub, which Telangana had in fact pioneered and championed. Ma'am, in fact, we're coming out with a very interesting comprehensive waste management policy, which includes management of 7 different kinds of waste. Solid, of course, solid waste management remains a continuous challenge. I'm the Minister for Municipal Administration and Urban Development as well, so I look after this subject. We also are focused, in fact, on liquid waste management. Likewise, we are also coming out with a comprehensive policy on biological waste management, biomedical waste management, likewise also on hazardous waste. In fact, Telangana will be the first state where all 141 municipal areas will have an FSTP as well, fecal sludge treatment plants as well. So we are obsessed and we are focused heavily on sanitation, including construction, demolition waste, etc., etc. May I request you, in fact, Nainaji, to maybe from the India Sanitation Management and Coalition to engage at a bilateral level with us, provide guidance. My request to you is, while we continue to engage with ASCI, while we continue to engage with other agencies and continue to augment S-Hub, it's important for us to also learn from eminent people and their work from across India and across the world as well. So may I request you, in fact, to possibly through FICCI, or either Director General or one of the office bearers, send out a short note so we could enter into a memorandum of understanding and move forward with your inputs, your guidance as well. And I assure you, ma'am, this is a subject which I believe is extremely important if we have to move forward. And S-Hub also, in fact, sanitation also can provide great deal of employment. So therefore, I'm absolutely upbeat about it, and more than happy to engage bilaterally, directly with the India Sanitation Coalition and Management.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
I will now turn to another past president of FICCI, Mr. Harshpati Singhania, who is also the Vice Chairman and Managing Director, JK Paper Limited. Mr. Singhania.
Namaskar, ATR Garu. Nice to see you, and really appreciate all your positive comments and what Telangana is doing. Our experience in Telangana is across different sectors, and I must say and put on record here, you and your team, and including Mr. Jayesh Ranjana here, that we've always received a very positive assurance from you and support.
Reason it feels.
I may make one or two.
Because I'm using the sanitizer very frequently.
And maybe one request. My suggestion is that while we are trying to recreate the economy from the COVID scenario, like you said, maybe we can focus on some sectors which have large linkages. So, for example, construction sector is one sector which has very large, multiple linkages across industries. And therefore, if we focus on that, maybe we will be, government infrastructure certainly, but that will help, bring in many more industries. Because really, sir, the issue right now across the country, frankly, is demand generation. We can start up factories fairly quickly, but unless there is adequate demand, we are having to constrain either production or start up and shut down again. So therefore, demand along with cash flow are the real things. So focus on some sectors which may have a larger impact would be my humble suggestion to you to consider. You have outlined some. So as far as a request is concerned, and this, by the way, will also create jobs, because once we have all this going, this will happen. As far as request is concerned, sir, I would like to build up on the point that Sandeep Somani ji made regarding the issue of dues from government, which were there, and I fully understand the difficulties of managing finances of the government. Sir, as you know, we have certain enterprises and we have taken over, for example, Sirpur paper mills, where we have invested almost 1,000 crore. There are some subsidies and incentives due to us. Now, because of COVID, I know they would have come, but because of COVID, cash flow issues become acute. So we would really request your intervention in the form that you mentioned. For example, if it is credited against some other dues and it can be done gradually, that would be greatly appreciated. Similarly, sir, we have another unit in JK Fenner which is exporting solar power to the grid. And there also we have issues of credits to be given from the TS Transco. So those kinds of things, again, because of cash flow, sir, if they can be alleviated, that can be done. And the last point is, sir, I had checked with our agri team. We have also a headquartered company, JK Agri Genetics, there. And they were fully complimentary of all the work that you have done on agriculture front. And they have said very clearly to convey our compliments to you on the great job the state has done. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Singhania, thank you once again, sir, for investing in our state, and thank you once again, for continuing to engage with us. The 3 points you mentioned, construction sector, like you pointed out, remains the second largest employer in the country today. After agriculture, in fact, it goes without saying, the kind of spurt in growth we've had across the different metros and different towns, especially, and also in the rural area. Construction industry has engaged millions and millions of workers and remains the second largest employer. We cannot overlook it. We cannot definitely ignore it. But at the same time, like you pointed out also, the demand, it's a demand-driven industry. One of the things I have proposed to Government of India, let me quickly point out, as part of the de-densification strategy with respect to office space, I have proposed to Government of India in the IT sector as well, that we need to relook at how we are going to go back to work. Possibly, start earmarking, say, possibly 75 to 100 square feet of area per person as opposed to 15 to 25 square foot like they have done in the past. This reason being, the social distancing or the physical distancing, whatever we would like to call it, if that has to be conformed to, we need to engage in this de-densification strategy. I've written to Government of India. Hopefully, again, something will come about on that. But as you certainly correctly pointed out, sir, it is an industry that requires support. We, in fact, are engaging with the local construction industry here. In fact, I have a meeting right after this with the Cement Manufacturers Association as well to see how we could together. Because, one of the impediments in spurring on construction at this crucial juncture is also the hike in prices of cement and also the hike in prices of steel, which is also not helping. So therefore, a model where a graded approach is taken, where all of us coexist, all of us continue to grow and hand-holding each other, needs to be worked out. I am engaging with all the stakeholders in this sector. And I assure you, sir, the only way we can continue to create demand is by attracting investments, creating more plug-and-play industrial parks, creating more and more avenues, creating more and more, opportunities for investors to come in and invest more. That is the only way we are going to create demand. So I will continue to work on that. With respect to your two other points about incentives, sir, I assure you, like I pointed out, we will come out with a solution, be it on industrial incentives or even in solar power. In fact, we have a cross-subsidization model in our state where we give free power to the farmer. So therefore, industry has been sort of bearing the burden of ensuring that the DISCOMs stay alive and DISCOMs also are in the green. But at the same time, I understand your point about open access and how industry also needs to start, leveraging green power opportunities that are available at its disposal. We will take a balanced view, sir. We will continue to engage with you directly, bilaterally, and continue to ensure that we strike a balance. Thank you, Mr. Singhania, once again, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we will now turn to Ms. Pinky Reddy, past president of FICCI Ladies Organization and director GVK Group Infrastructure. Ms. Reddy.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Hello, Ram. My compliments to you. I think all the hard work you've been putting in the last 3 months has been pretty amazing. I know everyone's asking all the questions regarding business, but I just have a simple question, but I don't know how life is going. How do you see the next 2 years in terms of life post-COVID? How do you think, how do you see it?
Pinky, thank you. As always, good to see you. I think the new normal that we all have to get adjusted to possibly is, our children resorting to more and more virtual, education facilities, our, meeting places being converted into something like what we are doing right now. And also, being the active social person that you are, I think, a lot of curtailment on activities.
Actually, I'm so acclimatized and so happy being home that I've forgotten how it is to go out.
Well, let me point out one thing though quickly. The hospitality industry, the tourism industry, the aviation industry are the worst hit.
What I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah.
Are the worst hit. Without a question, they're the worst hit. I think in terms of
And
recovery.
the healthcare industry, please.
Of course, Sangeeta. I think in terms of bounce back, we'll see some industries bouncing back faster. So therefore, you'll have manufacturing industries bouncing back faster, logistics bouncing back faster. You'll see more and more services industry also coming back in the medium term. But I think the last ones to possibly recover will be tourism, aviation, and the larger hospitality, meaning hotels and restaurants, etc. Now, how do we overcome this? How do we ensure people come back? I think that is a question that has been affecting a lot of us. That is something that I don't think anybody has an answer to yet in the world.
Don't you think the government should help these three sectors tremendously?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nobody seems to be talking about that.
By way of ensuring that liquidity, by way of ensuring that cash flow is eased, and by way of infusing more and more liquidity into the system, I think that's the only way we can find a solution. So we are, in fact, engaged with the Hotel Association here, and also the the event operators and event associations here. We are trying to figure out a strategy in which we can continue to remain safe, but at the same time also go back, to doing what we were doing before COVID.
It's a very catch-22 situation. We can't do without hospitality, aviation, and all that, and we can't do with it also now at present. There should be some way we should fix that.
The entertainment industry has gone back to work in Telangana. The entertainment industry, in fact, has been given
That's fantastic.
a reprieve.
That's really good. Yeah.
I think the only way is now, we have to realize that we have to live with this virus, coexist. So therefore, I think taking all precautions, we have to move forward. We have no choice until, we don't have the luxury of waiting for a year sitting at home. So therefore, no choice but to go back and adopting to the new normal.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers.
So we will now invite Shri Tanmoy Chakrabarti, Chairman of FICCI Committee on Urban Transformation.
Arun, can't hear you.
Well, hello. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
So we will invite Shri Tanmoy Chakrabarti, Chairman FICCI Committee on Urban Transformation, and who's also the Group Government Affairs Officers, Tata Sons Private Limited, Smart Cities.
Very good morning, Minister. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be talking to you because you represent the new age and the future Indian political leadership. And most importantly, totally aligned to the tech savviness that India requires to be able to deal with 1.3 billion people. You personally exemplify and demonstrate by leading by example the fact that the technology use and absorption in government is perhaps one of the only ways now to be able to deal with governance for the people. You are also the municipal affairs minister, and what we would like to focus and what we are focusing on at FICCI is that instead of looking at cities becoming smart, I think we have to really go back in a post-COVID environment to cities becoming livable. And three sectors that we would certainly like to hear your feedback on is one is, adopting electric buses to improve public transportation, especially in cities, and even intercity movement of people, because the roads can't accommodate any more cars. And, urban traffic chaos is not the way to go forward. In fact, even from a pollution perspective. What are some of your thoughts on moving Telangana to a 100% green public transportation state as a pioneer, for example. The other area that in the post-COVID world, I think we are going to feel is the decongestion of cities and de-slumification of cities, and what kind of slum redevelopment initiatives are in your thoughts as a kind of physical distancing, social distancing, and decongesting the cities that we have built, where it is like a wall-to-wall kind of a situation where municipal corporations have given permissions to build, creating these urban jungles thus far in the last 75 years. And the third area that we would really like to hear your thoughts on is in the area of, as you correctly alluded to in your speech earlier, is the issue of water and river rejuvenation. Most of our rivers around every single city is dry and wasted. And what are some of your priorities that you're going to accord to the water conservation and river rejuvenation initiatives in your state? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Tanmoy. Thank you for the kind words. Quickly, the first thing I would like to point out is I think what has been brought to the fore during COVID is our dependence on the networks and on the ISPs and all the telecom services. You know, because but for them, we would not be talking right now. But for them, in fact, governments would not be able to offer solutions, and governments will not be able to come out with different ways to engage with other governments and also with citizens. So the first thing I'd like to point out is our government in Telangana is investing heavily in digital infrastructure. We are doing a project called as the T-Fiber, which when completed will provide very deep and a very robust broadband to each and every one of our 10 million homes, thereby enabling a revolution of sorts in the way we converse with our citizens, in the way we engage with them to offer various services, be it on healthcare, be it on education, etc. The other thing I also wanted to point out quickly, because you also mentioned, you also mentioned 3 other points on electric vehicles. Tanmay, I am of the belief that India possibly is one country where we should go for a mixed model of hybrids and electric vehicles. We may not be able to completely switch over to pure play EVs by 100%. Of course, they are reliable. Of course, they are tested. But at the same time, I think we need a mix and match. You know, hybrid is more possibly in tune, in sync with our rural, semi-urban realities. And in urban settings, we can go for pure play EVs. I think it has to be a mixed model only because in India, we allow for standing passengers in public transport. In India, we allow for more than the permitted loads, etc. So therefore, we cannot go for pure play EVs and believe that it will work without a hitch. So therefore, we might need a mixed model. In our case in Telangana, we already have a few EVs plying in city of Hyderabad. But obviously, it goes without saying that with Government of India's support, we are going to improve it. We are going to consistently continue to increase the numbers. We also have EV guidelines, which I'm happy to share with you, which we have issued in the state of Telangana to promote manufacturing of electric vehicles in our state. Not just vehicles, but in fact, also ancillary industries. We are also encouraging them, promoting them, and batteries, cells. So I'm happy to also share with you, we've received 3 very important substantial investments in these sectors. We have them being announced in the next few weeks. And I'm confident that that is the way forward with our guidelines and also with Government of India's approach. EVs and hybrids are going to be the future. We'll be definitely one of the leading states, I assure you of that. With respect to decongestion of cities, in fact, Tanmoy, Hyderabad has been rated by Mercer as a city with the best quality of living for 5 years in a row in the last 5 years, from 2014 until 2019. Every year on the livability index, we've been rated as a city with the best quality of living among Indian cities. While we are in the world rated on as 142nd, in Indian cities, we are the best, relatively speaking. The reason for that is because of the government's approach to decongesting the city. In fact, the outer ring road of Hyderabad, which is about 160 kilometers and a 12-lane expressway, is one of its kind in India, which no other city today can talk of. Now, in fact, overarching that, our government is now going to come out with a regional ring road, which will again be of 332 kilometers and which will create more and more economic activity. The reason why I mention these two expressways is because what it has done is expanded the scope of the city, has created more space, what we call the Hyderabad Growth Corridor Limited. It has opened up nearly 80,000 acres of space for further creation of satellite townships, for further creation of economic hubs, which will decongest the core city and which will take economic activity to spread out evenly. Now, our Chief Minister's vision is to create self-contained plug-and-play townships in a live, work, learn, play mode. And we have started in the right earnest. We have started developing, certain townships and certain land pooling methods to create these satellite townships. We will further enhance and further push them in days to come. The last thing I want to point out is on water and river rejuvenation. I'm happy to share with you, Tanmoy, that the district I represent, Sirsila, which is where I represent as an MLA from, that district has been chosen as an exemplary case study for all the civil servants in India for the 2019 batch for the water management practices, what we've and our achievements. In fact, 6 meters of groundwater has risen in this district that I represent, and I'm very proud of that fact. And that has only happened because of our Honorable Chief Minister's efforts to complete our irrigation projects at a breakneck speed on a war footing. Our Chief Minister's vision to create more sewerage treatment plants. In fact, Hyderabad is a city with the maximum amount of sewerage treatment happening for any metro in India today. We treated nearly 42% of our sewerage. We are going to augment it to 80% now in the next 1.5 years. And we believe in the philosophy of reuse, reduce, and recycle. In fact, we are the one city, I think second only to Bangalore, which has a rainwater harvesting theme park where we send our school children to engage with them from a very early stage. And we are a state which has worked extensively over the last 6 years and has invested billions of dollars worth of money into rejuvenating our lakes. We have 46,000 tanks in Telangana, lakes and tanks in Telangana. We have already rejuvenated more than 20,000 of them. And we are through a program called Mission Kakatiya. We've done it in a mission mode. And we are keen also to continue with this program and enhance other tanks in future. Waterman of India, Rajendra Kumar, I think, had also visited Telangana. He had also complimented our water management efforts. So we will continue in the right earnest. But the challenge remains from an urban perspective, Tanmoy, of reusing our treated water. How do we reuse? How do we make sure our construction industry, reuses this recycled water? How do we ensure that our landscaping, etc., even in the gated communities and even in the private homes, gets to use this? See, these are the things that are going to be a challenge, even if it is tertiary treatment. How do we ensure that people have the confidence in India that it is good for us to reuse and reduce the burden on our water resources? So these are, of course, areas where we continue to try and improve. But by and large, I think we are in the right track.
Thank you, Minister.
Sir, I think Dr. Sangeeta Reddy had a question. May I request her to intervene?
So once again, I think not just the address, but every aspect of development and the responses have been so cogent that on behalf of the national healthcare providers and especially the healthcare providers of Telangana, I just wanted to, I needed to put this forward on their behalf, that I believe that the first layer of response has been, very good by the state. But as the scenario accelerates, will there be a more proactive, inclusive role for private healthcare, especially in the form of testing, because the state needs to ramp that up?